Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Ademola Bookmen Podcast. My name's Alistair Bond and I'm here with my co-host Johnny Coughlin. Hi, Johnny.
Hi, Al. How are you doing?
I'm good, fella. And this week we're doing Taking Le Tissier, the Matt Le Tissier autobiography.
Le Tissier, brilliant goal! A brilliant goal! What an answer from one of the great mystery talents in the English game.
So, Johnny, what do you know about Matt Le Tissier?
I guess the thing with Le Tissier is this one club thing. Not playing for England all that much. And sticking with Southampton. And it's the amount of times he says it in the book. In every chapter.
I mean, every page.
Can I say as well, just, we've talked about this before. Maybe it's just the general corrosive influence of money, but people who earn money are obsessed with money. He talks about money so much in this book.
Yeah, he does. And he gives specific amounts as well. Like, oh, I get to go for a meal at Southampton. I get paid £500 a time. Easy money. Oh, I played a couple of days of football, but hey, I did get £2,500. Good money for that. But then, I mean, we're sort of jumping ahead here. He didn't earn much, did he? I was genuinely astonished at how little he earned.
Especially compared to other players, teammates of his who went on to join other teams. He was earning literally a fraction of what they went. Like, they were getting to sit on the bench at Aston Villa.
Yeah, he's a fucking mug, isn't he? I mean, he said the most he was ever paid was $4,000 a week. Now, I know that, this was 25 years ago, but even then, I know that Stuart Pearce, similar sort of character, right? You'd say in terms of a club and size of a club. I know he was on $18,000 a week at Forest. So he was getting paid literally 20% of his peers. Wild, but.
Yeah, it is totally wild.
But then he was only putting in 20% of the effort of his peers, wasn't he? As we'll get to. So fuck him. I think he was getting well paid for the amount of effort he made.
That's it, isn't it? Le Tissier was a coaster. He wanted to coast. Every time he talks about money, actually, he does talk about it in the context of how little he has to do in order to get it.
And how very proud he is of having to do so little to get it. He's a frustrating character. And frankly, a dickhead.
His kind of spiral maybe started with COVID. And certainly in this book, I think he says on a few occasions that he's not a political person. But so this is before all of that kind of stuff with Le Tissier. Did Le Tissier in this book, you say he's a dickhead, did it make you like him in any way?
No, it didn't. It made me like him a good deal less. Even the conspiracy theorist weirdo that I know him to be, I like him less now than I did when I started reading the book. I really found him just intolerable. Just
why?
He's so proud of being lazy. He's so proud of being fat, and he's so proud of being stupid. I think the epitome of ignorance. I think 2 or 3 times he said, "Oh, I didn't talk to him." In case if I talk to him, he might change my mind. He does that all the time. It's like, dear God, he is stuck in his ways.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I really, and I didn't go into that. I'm not looking to cut his throat because of his COVID stuff. There's a lot of people who are weird about that, but I just found him absolutely intolerable. I mean, the name of the book, Taking Le Tissier, right? That's all you need to know. That's the tone of a book. It reads like a tabloid newspaper, right? In fact, there's even little cut-out bits where there's a stupid little quote, so it actually looks like the page of a tabloid newspaper. And it reads like a tabloid newspaper, and it has the sense of humour of a tabloid newspaper, because he is a tabloid man. Now, just one thing, right? We talked about the interesting things about Matt Le Tissier, like the great goal scorer. Now, genuinely some of the greatest goals in Premier League history. Didn't play much, and yes, a one-club man. But the most interesting thing about Matt Le Tissier, he was engaged to Marilyn from Home and Away, and he doesn't even get a sniff. Where's that? Where's that? Where's Marilyn? When I learned Marilyn from Home and Away was going out with Matt Le Tissier, that was genuinely Two worlds colliding. Two worlds colliding. And there's not a sniff. But he says right at the start, this isn't kiss and tell. This is tiss and dell.
Yeah, it is very juvenile in the humour. And as you say, there's quotes on every page, but that same quote is also in the text of every single page. So it's just there to fill up space. Do you think there was a football dressing room in the 90s that didn't have a player with the nickname Trigger?
I mean, I've got a note of this. No, I don't think there was. So look, I've got this written down, Johnny. So I think Richard Dryden was Trigger. Yeah. Richard Dryden, not a player I remember. Page 134. Page 138. Klaus Lundekvam. We called him Dave, like Rodney from Only Fools. Yeah. Fucking hell, lads, do better. So you're... Is anyone Del Boy? You got a grandpa in there? You fucking idiots. Dude, just watch something else. Read a book. Watch a movie. Sit around watching Unfolding Horses all day. Yeah, boys.
Boise, was it Denzel?
Hey, pina colada, please, Marlene.
There you go. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones. Not a high bar, Johnny.
Le Tissier is a kind of a footballer Robin Hood kind of character in his own eyes, He's a folk hero. Everybody can get behind that, right? That's just cool, and that's what we want it to be. But he's just a bit of a dick.
He is deeply, deeply not cool. There are a lot of things Matt Le Tissier is, but none of them are cool. He is not a cool man. Not at all.
Did you like the appearance of our previous protagonist, Eric Cantona, snubbing Le Tissier? I did enjoy that.
Yes, I did. Absolutely. Just snubbed him cold day because he's too good for you. He's too good for you, Matt.
Yeah, so they were at a press conference for a beach football competition, and they were doing a joint press conference, and Cantona showed up late. And Le Tissier made a joke of pointing at his watch, and Cantona just ignored him for the rest of the press conference. That was funny.
He assumes that the reader is going to be so sympathetic to his plight in everything he writes. And I never was. There's like 3 pages where he describes about breaking his fucking arm. Don't care, mate. Don't care. And then he's like, first thing I asked. And it's like, the banter, here we go. Will I be able to swing a golf club? That was more important to me than football. He writes that down. He says all the time how much he doesn't care about football. If I was a Southampton fan, I would be a little bit disillusioned by this whole book. There's one bit, he's injured. He's watching the game in the casino. Newcastle score, big dunk. He wins a tenner. He's up cheering. Yeah, go on. I mean, whoops. He doesn't love Southampton. He just fucking hates everywhere else. I mean, that's what it is. Like, going up to London would be like trekking up to fucking Newcastle for him. Like, he thought it was terrifying. There's one bit like, he's like, my agent called me, says one of the world's biggest clubs are interested in you. Well, I drove up to London excited. Who's this? Real Madrid, Barcelona? No, it was Liverpool. Oh. I'm not going up north. I wouldn't be able to understand what they're saying. I'd need a translator. What? Guernsey. He comes from Guernsey, right? That's the other famous thing. He's a Channel Islander. Now, you would think the way he but by the way, he was one of 3 kids, right? And his mum had 3 kids. They were married and had 3 kids by the time they were 20. Get in there, Guernsey. Look at that. I had no idea. I just imagined that.
Was it 4?
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be 4 kids. It might be. He said he had 3. They were married with 3 kids by the time they were 20, which is good going. And is not, to be honest, how I imagined Guernsey. I just imagined they'd all be like living in little cottages with lovely little wisteria climbing the thatched roofs. But he describes it as a bit rough and ready in Guernsey. I think they're bringing back The Wire season 5, and it's going to be Guernsey based, like the movie will be more.
Do you remember the part of the book where he said that he was being accused of lacking ambition by staying at Southampton? And he said he name-checked Lucas Neal and Steve Sidwell and said, Lucas Neal went to West Ham instead of Liverpool because he said they were a bigger club, but he was just getting paid more. Is that more ambitious? and Steve Sidwell went from Reading, where he was good, to sit at the bench at Chelsea. Is that more ambitious? And okay, fair enough. There's a point in there. But then he says, I was ambitious when I was a kid. You know, he says, when I was 8 or 9, I decided I wanted to become a professional footballer, and I achieved it by the time I was 19. So anyone who says, oh, I wanted to be a professional footballer and I wanted to play for England, I achieved them by whatever age. And anyone who wants to accuse me of lacking ambition, my question to them is, had you achieved your ambitions by the time you were 25? Which I thought was a kind of a fun way of looking at the world.
Well, no, he's a self-apologist, isn't it? I mean, again, if he's happy, he's happy. But I just found him incredibly frustrating. At the end, there's a lot of the end of the book, Johnny. So first of all, there's like 20 pages of like commendations by his ex-teammates and managers. But in fact, a lot of them commendations are like, I wish he'd worked harder, but our team kind of struggled sometimes because he wouldn't work. He absolutely would not work. At one point, Carlton Palmer shouts at him and he's like, fuck off, I'm better than you. I'm not going to run. I put him in his place. It's like, by telling him you couldn't be okay. And like, a lot of his ex-teammates say, yeah, if he'd just run around a bit more, that would have been good. And just as an ego thing, then at the end, there is like 30 pages of letters from Southampton fans all saying they love him. Wow, I've never seen that in an autobiography before, ever. Hey, do you love me? Will you write a letter about how great I am? And I'll put it in my book about me. Just say I'm great, please. Thanks, everybody. Oh, God. I mean, I guess they got to pad it out. That's the problem with Matt Le Tissier, right? He never went anywhere and he never won anything. So his career is just a straight line. And all he can do is just describe every single fucking goal he ever scored, no matter how obscure or unimportant. Yeah. Oh, I got one against Port Vale and who cares? Who cares, Matt? Tell me about Marilyn from Home and Away. How the fuck did you meet her? I want to know. I couldn't find anything about that.
He remarries, right? That's not his second wife, right?
No. I think he was just seeing Marilyn from Home and Away. But yeah, he didn't marry her, I don't think.
Do you think that Le Tissier was a step up or a step down from Fisher, the school principal in Home and Away, who Marilyn was married to in the show? Flathead.
You see, you're showing your Irishness there, Johnny. I'm struggling to now. Fisher, it rings a bell. So she went from Fisher to Le Tissier. Step down. This is a respected actor on Australian television to basically a big fat fucking man-child who was quite good at football.
No. I'm saying Marilyn, the character, was dating the school principal in Summer Bay, not the actor. I'm talking about the character.
Well, he's a school principal then. Excellent. Well done. A pillar of the community and probably not giving bad advice about vaccinations. Step down.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm happy we cleared that up. Anyway, let's get into the life and times of Matt Le Tissier. Okay, yeah, as you say, he's born in Guernsey. The foreword is written by Alan Shearer. So that he kind of just, everyone who writes, and there's a few people, like as I said, there's these kind of, one of the last chapters is what people say about Le Tissier. And it is, as you say, he was very good and very lazy. So this is what Shearer says. And he says, I'm not surprised that he's getting someone else to write the book for him. But there's a lot of that kind of thing, isn't there?
I mean, but it is frustrating, Johnny, because he really was ever so good. He really was. But he's so determined to be a fat bastard. Like, oh, God, there's like one chapter. It's like, they recommended I get a dietitian. Fat lot of good that did. It's like, oh. It's not a book. It's like a sign behind a bar. Like you don't have to be mad here to work here, but it helps. It's like everything is like that. Fat lot of good of a dietitian did. Oh,
he said he went to McDonald's every day before training. That's not even like just general bad diet. That is appalling.
And again, You couldn't get a full fry up. Eat a lovely, delicious fry up. I mean, if there's one good thing about England, it's for cooked breakfast. I mean, you're getting that shitty. Oh, I hate that.
Anyway, let's talk about.
I like the hash browns. Okay.
Let's talk about Guernsey. There's not much to say about Guernsey, right? It's isolated. He's playing he's excellent at football from a very young age. He gets a trial at Oxford, doesn't work out, and then very quickly he goes to Southampton. Two of his older brothers had been really excellent and had gone for trials, and one of them spent time on the mainland but got homesick immediately and came back. So his parents were kind of preparing him mentally, because it seemed to be, I guess, evident from a reasonably young age that he had a good shot at being a professional footballer.
It doesn't feel like he had much mental preparation in anything, Johnny, but yeah, he did. He's awfully proud of having got out of Guernsey. He really is. He's very proud. Not many people get out of there like me. He got out of Guernsey, fought his way out. But he wouldn't go further than Southampton, because Southampton does have good connections to Guernsey. That's why he wouldn't leave, because he could get back to Guernsey easily from Southampton. Nowhere else has got the connections. Yeah,
and is Guernsey... you were saying what your mental picture of Guernsey was. I just assumed the Channel Islands as just tax exiles. Remember when we did that book about Sven-Goran Eriksson, and he came across a very, very shady character on one of the very many schemes he was involved in? But he was from Guernsey, wasn't he?
Yeah, I met him in Dubai, right? Yeah, of course he did.
That's my mental picture of the Channel Islands. Everybody sitting around sipping pims with their little yachts in the harbour, no?
I'm with you. I mean, I don't really imagine real people living in the Channel Islands, living real lives. That just doesn't seem... Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm an electrician. Where do you live? Channel Islands. Doesn't sound right, does it? It just doesn't sound right. But yeah, I think I mean, are you familiar with the television show Bergerac? Show my age again, Johnny. It was about Jersey, and that's how I picture it. I just picture it as Bergerac. I imagine John Nettles is solving murders. And yes, tax cars. Anyway, he's proud of himself for getting out of there, but he doesn't want to get too far away.
Yeah, but that's human enough, though, isn't it? To be fair to him. But did you know that if you were from the Channel Islands, you could represent all of the countries of Great Britain, and then weirdly also Ireland? That doesn't make any sense.
I did know that. Yeah, I did. That was one of those. Yeah, you could just pick and choose. And he also got the opportunity to play for France. Platini called him up. But of course, no thanks. I mean, he didn't want to go beyond Southampton. He's not going to go and speak French to someone, is he? He'd be disgusted.
He would be disgusted. But he also, very early in the book, he has a sly dig at Ireland. Did you pick up on that?
No, I don't think I did.
He went there to play in some kind of youth game, and it was raining, because it tends to rain in Ireland, and the only covered part of the stand was where the journalists were. And he said, it seemed pretty, innocuous enough, but then he says, this could only happen in Ireland. But he didn't elaborate.
He's not Ferenc Puskas, is he? He plays it as pre-season friendly in East Germany, and he goes out there and goes, I didn't like the food, but I'm glad I could bring some sunshine into these sad little people's lives. Thanks for your insights. And then he goes back 10 years later. It was interesting to see how the place had changed. What were the changes, Matt? No insight at all. It was interesting to see how it changed. How would it change, Matt? No.
He also says in that trip to East Germany, he was saying how terrible it was, and he just wanted to get out of there. And he said, but I did bring back one of the best ever souvenirs from a trip abroad. And I was thinking, okay, this is going to be something interesting, something with some historic relevance, something with a connection to a time and a place. And he was like, it was a Zeiss watch.
Yeah, got a lovely Zeiss watch. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it wasn't all bad. Got a nice watch out of it. And I was able to bring some colour into these sad little people's lives.
Yeah.
He's a horrible little Englander. He's a horrible little Englander. He's so awful. Oh, I really didn't like him a lot.
He went to Northern Ireland, where some of the autograph hunters were rude. This was when he was a young player, and he said one kid got his autograph and then kicked him in the shins and ran off. which I just thought was funny. And he said once he gave an autograph to a Portsmouth fan who then spat at him and tried to punch him. What? Why would someone do that? It's so funny. That was funny.
Well, I don't blame them. Good for them. I mean, was that little kid you that kicked him in the shins, Johnny? Because if it was, good for you. Should have kicked him harder.
Okay, he leaves Guernsey, he goes to Southampton. He establishes himself reasonably quickly.
May I just start? Just a quick. So he has an apprenticeship at Southampton. We were basically part-time paid slaves. Slavery wasn't as bad as what I thought, Johnny. I honestly didn't realise it. It was only part-time and they got paid. And then everyone fucking moans about it. I didn't realise. I have learned something there. Slavery was nowhere near. It's only part-time and you got paid. That's not how slavery works, Matt, you fucking idiot. We were basically part-time paid slaves. All of those parameters means you weren't slaves.
So you're saying that he doesn't apply himself, but by 1987, 88, he's kind of around the first team of Southampton. He's going to training and then he is going to spend 11 hours a day at the snooker club. He must be amazing at snooker.
Snooker and golf, he loves them both. 11 hours is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd think if you were spending 11 hours a day, you'd be pretty good at snooker.
Yeah. Well, you'd get up to 10,000 hours in less than 3 years if you did that every day.
No, very good. I see you've done the math. Excellent preparation, Johnny. Very good. I mean, that's the sport for him, isn't it? Like, you don't have to run around. You don't have to do running for anyone else. Yeah, he would have been a great snooker player. He looks like a snooker player. He has the worldview of a snooker player.
Yeah, he's got serious snooker vibes. All right. Okay, 2 questions. Reading between the lines. Do you think Le Tissier was A big drinker, and B, a big gambler?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, both of them. Yeah, he often talks about gambling, doesn't he? Like people drive, and he's always getting driven places. Yeah, people driving him to the betting shop. Yeah, and he sort of, I think he claims he's not a big drinker because all he drinks is Malibu and Coke, and you just assume anyone who drank Malibu and Coke was not a big drinker or in any way a lad. But yeah, he gives himself a pass as long as he's not drinking beer or cock. I mean, it is a cock. Oh God, Le Tissier. Just everything he does just annoys me. Like, how as a man, you go up and order a Malibu and Coke for yourself and then take it off the bartender and drink it and look them in the eye and say, I'm all right. It's like, get out. Get out.
And you, this was not your view of Le Tissier coming into this book. So tell me your frame of mind, Al, as you entered taking Le Tiss. Did you expect to like him?
Yes, I did expect to like him. Yeah, I did. I thought he'd be all right. I always thought, yeah. I genuinely thought he was hard done by for England. I no longer hold that view. I wouldn't have picked him in a million years. Nowhere near. If he had Gaza, you'd take Gaza over him every day of the week. At least Gaza's going to try. Yeah, I knew he was problematic with his views, but I'm not excusing anyone, but, people go down these rabbit holes, whatever. But he's just a knobhead. He's just so proud of being ignorant. And I just find that unforgivable.
How the book is kind of ordered is it's essentially the managers that he played under, right?
Yeah.
So he plays under this Chris Nicholl, this Brandfoot. What's his it? Ian Brandfoot, was it?
Ian Brandfoot. Yeah.
Ian Brandfoot. And then Ian Brandfoot, Dave Merrington. These are guys that are kind of before my time. And then when it gets to like Alan Ball, Souness, Strachan, Dave Jones Strachan, Hoddle, obviously. It became a little bit more interesting for me, but when it's Chris Nicholl and he's punching, Chris Nicholl was one of his first, maybe his first manager, and he's punching a guy that I've never heard of and stuff like that. It was very dull for me. I could see maybe it holds appeal for Southampton fans, but that's very niche, or late 80s, early 90s Southampton fans. That is a niche crowd for this book.
Well, it is. I mean, it's got the same problem as the Mark Noble book. He just never did anything. I mean, he just played for a bang average team for 10 years. He was good. I mean, no doubt. He was really good, super shot, but he never won anything. He just played at the same stadium year after year, never moved, never did anything. And it's very difficult to write a book like that unless you're really mean-spirited and you want to just slate people, which he does. Here's right. This is the mark of a man. At the back of it, he writes, it's like my best ever Southampton 11. Oh, that's fair enough, yeah. Then he puts his worst ever Southampton 11.
That's more fun, though, isn't it?
Well, it is more fun, but it's a bit more psychopathic, isn't it? Like, I mean, like, my autobiography, my best friends, and then a list of all the people I've worked with I hate most. I mean, it's just like poor Michael Gilkes, poor Paul Moody, poor Graham Potter, although he did all right for himself. I mean, Ali Dia, okay, fair enough. Even Robbie Keane gets a drive-by, doesn't he? For no reason at all.
There's a couple of drive-bys on Robbie Keane.
He likens buying a nightclub to buying Robbie Keane. That's not fair. Robbie Keane was pretty good.
He scored 67, 68 goals for Ireland when the national record before that was maybe 21. It was a total different level, which we haven't reached since. But yeah, really? Like he has that drive-by on Graham Potter. He signed some good players. He's talking about, is it Tunis? He signs some good players and Graham Potter, but he doesn't offer any, he doesn't elaborate. And I do like when people, I do, you want the gloves to come off. You want them to be telling you things that you don't know and why, but why is Graham Potter so bad? Tell me about that. That's what I want to hear. But there's just
absolutely.
More slight digs.
So yeah, the Robbie Keane thing is in relation to, do you remember what the nightclub he bought was called?
Celebration, was it called Celebration Pavement or something like that? It was CP.
It was.
Hold on, let me see. I might have this here.
Well, whilst you're looking, Johnny, what were the nightclubs in Carlow called when you were a kid?
Sorry, it was called Celebration Plaza. That's what it was.
Celebration Plaza. Would you want to go to Celebration Plaza?
So, Carlow in Ireland, well, we have very few claims to fame, but we've got a huge nightclub for some reason, and that was called the Foundry.
Actually, it's a solid name, in fairness. The one in my town was called Fat Sam's, and there was another one called Keyhole Kate's. Keyhole Kate's. Jeeves is about the worst name for a nightclub I've ever heard in my life.
There was one actually a little before my time called, kind of my parents' time, called Mimes. That's a shock.
Mimes. Yeah, that is absolutely awful. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm going for. Mimes. Was there a picture of a mime? That's good. That is. See.
Yeah, that was a hotel nightclub as well. They're always the worst, aren't they?
I mean, who comes up with that? Who sit around and say, we're going to come up with a name for this? Mimes.
Well, maybe the manager was a failed mime artist, I
mean, why else?
Anyway, yeah, he said he lost 100,000 or something on Celebration Plaza. But it's hard to feel sorry for him because he did things like the reason I asked about the gambling is because he did a couple of sneaky little scams, didn't he? Like he was trying to make money on spread gambling on when the first throw-in was and stuff, when the first throw-in was in and stuff like that. And that was an entertaining story, but probably not for the reasons that he thinks. So the idea was, in this spread betting, how it worked was, just say the bookies offers whatever times, 70 seconds, the first throw-in. And every second before it, if it goes out of play before that, your stake goes up exponentially, what you would win. But every second after that, you would owe more. So he arranged to be taking the kickoff. He was captain. He was able to do this, and he offered the direction they were playing to the other team so he could take the kickoff. And then he sprayed it wide. Himself and his teammate, Flash Gordon Watson, had come up with this scheme, and so they didn't tell Neil Shipperley, so he sprayed it wide to Shipperley, and Shipperley made an extra effort to keep it in, which is the fun bit, isn't it? And anyway, he said it was the most he ever ran. Of course, this is where he thinks it's really funny, but he got the ball out at 70 seconds, and they broke even or whatever. They didn't lose money, and that was the last time I ever tried to, commit an act of fraud.
Yeah. I wonder how much Lucas Paquetá is laughing as he's investigating for this and potentially his career's over. Genuinely, this was an astonishing admission to make, right? Because this is illegal. Like, actually illegal.
Yeah.
He was referred to Hampshire. This book was referred to the Hampshire police, but they said it wasn't a worthwhile resource of police time to research into it. But genuinely, like, Lucas Paquetá could lose his career over this. Exactly the same thing, right? Putting the ball out for a throw-in for the purposes of gambling. I mean, I guess no harm was done, but he's so fucking gleeful about it. Like, isn't this a funny story? How I'm a dirty cheat. Funny, isn't it?
Do you remember?
And also, what a dumb bastard. And he says, like, I could have just blasted it out, but I didn't want people to think I was clumsy. Dickhead. just fucking blasted out. Oh, God. All right, there's a lot we disagree with Matt Le Tissier, but I think I'm going to read a sentence to you here, which I think we can both unanimously agree on. People called Rupert should not be running football clubs.
Yeah. We have a dear mutual friend called Rupert, so I did get a kick out of that line.
I did too. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and we could get to Rupert Lowe in a while. Actually, I would have thought, isn't Rupert Lowe, he's positioning himself to take over from Farage in that whatever awful right-wing party he is, isn't he?
Oh, is he? I don't even look anymore.
I believe so, but so I would have thought that himself and Le Tissier might have had some common ground, and maybe they do now. But yeah, he really hates Rupert Lowe, and we can come back to that. But maybe, I think, okay, I'm going to ask you this because I think you might have been there. Were you at the Synod Cup final?
No, I was at the one the year later. I was at the Zenith Data Systems when we beat. I don't know. I don't remember this. I was definitely at the Everton one, but I don't think I was at this one, in all honesty.
Yeah, okay. So they lost. This is the only time he got to a final, wasn't it? They lost to Nottingham Forest, and their own manager, Branfoot, was booed. He'd replaced this Chris Nicola guy, and he was playing. They had good players. They had Alan Shearer, they had Le Tissier, they had Tim Flowers in goal.
Yeah, Razor Ruddock. Genuinely good team.
Yeah, they're decent players. So this Branfoot guy was playing kind of a long ball game, and the fans didn't like it, as you can imagine. And one of the fan magazines put his picture on the front with the headline "Hope you die soon," which I thought was a bit extreme.
I think we've all felt that way about football managers at some point. Like, step forward, Gary Megson. I didn't want him to die, but I wanted to be in a position where he could no longer manage my football team, for example.
And I think we've talked before on a previous episode about penalties and who scored the most. But of course, one thing that we know we've definitely talked about is who was the goalkeeper who saved his only ever missed penalty?
Norm Crossley, the legend.
Norm.
Yeah. You know he's called Norm? Do you know why he's called Norm?
After Norman Mailer, after Stormin Norman, after...
Yeah, no, you were right. You got it first time. He was named after Norman Mailer. It was a very literary bunch in the early 90s in the Forest dressing room. They were big fans of the angry...
it's a nickname.
Writers. Yeah, he's Mark Crossley. No, because he looked like Norman Whiteside. He was always called Norm.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Okay, I'm going to give you a name, and you tell me if you remember something about this person in the book. Ken Moncow.
No.
Ken Moncow.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know anything about that. Was the Guyana? Was it Guyana?
Suriname.
Terrible Suriname, yeah. Terrible plane crash. I knew nothing about that.
So he was signed from Chelsea, but for Southampton. But when he initially signed for Chelsea, he was called up to a Suriname, he calls it Dutch Suriname, but a Suriname match. And he didn't go because he felt like he needed to show up at his new club. And the entire squad of Suriname was killed in a plane crash. Now that's crazy stuff.
Yeah, I genuinely knew nothing about it.
Every single year until Huddle, who's the manager he hates most, every single year they kind of flirt with the drop, right? And there's a few
Yeah.
last day escapes. And Le Tissier says at one point, "Oh, we should do this every year because it's kind of, I guess, more jeopardy, it's more fun and all the rest of it." But then they kind of do it every year. And they had a lot of escapes. And then, so he was never relegated, but he never got to the FA Cup final either. So the year after he retired, they got to the FA Cup final. They lost to Arsenal. But the year after that, they were relegated. And then they really went into a spiral. They ended up in League One and in administration and stuff like that. Let's just talk about maybe in terms of managers. Alan Ball and Johan Cruyff being friends took me as a bit of a surprise.
Peas in the pod, mate. Exactly the same. Johan Cruyff got a pair of those Alan Ball twisty studs when he was a kid, and he's like, that's how he learned the Cruyff turn. You heard about these Alan Ball twisty studs boots wrecking 60s kids' ankles? Yeah.
So they swiveled or something?
Yeah, they swiveled. Yeah, so it was really easy to just break your ankle. Nowadays, there'd be lawsuits all over them.
But yeah, I guess
I think there's more to Alan Ball than that, though. There is more. I remember because I had a Forest season ticket these years. I remember Alan Ball managing at Forest and just him getting hell. I just remember this old lady going, "Fuck off, Ball, you twat."
Why do people hate Alan Ball? He won the World Cup for England, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Short and ginger, kind of belligerent.
He was the youngest member of that squad as well. He was a young fella when he won the World Cup.
We didn't put him in the old English squad. He didn't get in the old Gingers 11, did he?
Yeah. Do you know who I found out was Ginger since? Two people.
Oh, yes.
One of them is Fernando Torres, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was Emperor Nero.
All right. Well, with Yo back, you can stick him in goal. I think it's pretty fucking self-evident if you're ginger, Johnny. You look at someone, are they ginger? Yes or no? I've since discovered that Fernando Torres was ginger. What? No.
We don't need to relitigate that. The parts that I thought were interesting, I thought there was some reasonably interesting parts under Souness, because Souness is an interesting character, right? So all of the players naturally were kind of impressed by Souness because of his career, but also because of he's got a certain gravitas, and you can see that on the television, right? Souness has a certain authority. Le Tissier says, with huge respect for Souness, how he was really good because he would train with them and he was often the best player. Then he says the same thing about Hoddle, but he uses it as a stick to beat Hoddle with.
He's got an issue with both of them, right? Souness called him out in front of the whole team, went round and asked all the players, does Matt Le Tissier do enough? No, boss. Does Matt Le Tissier do enough? No, boss. And instead of taking it to heart, he just gets offended by Souness, doesn't he? Like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Maybe you should try harder, Matt.
And he said,
try harder.
He said, I'd like to put it down to the fact that most of the players just wanted to say what they expected Souness wanted to hear, which is a nice kind of way of giving himself a pass. But Souness brought in, there was some interesting things about players that they missed out on, like Andre Flo. Like, not that was going to revolutionise football on the South Coast or something, but they missed out later. I think maybe under Strachan, it was under Strachan on Emmanuel Adebayor. That would have been a pretty amazing signing for Southampton.
Yeah, that was Rupert Lowe's dithering, right? Otherwise they would have snapped him up.
Yeah, but Souness signed such, luminaries of the game as Brett Ormerund, Kevin Davis. The list goes on.
I mean, Davis was decent.
Yeah, decent. Come on, he was decent.
No, he was.
That was it. You can stop right there. He was decent.
Brett Ormerod was not decent. He was like a proto Crouch, but not as good, which is not a great endorsement of the player.
But then the Hoddle stuff, because Hoddle is kind of, what I did enjoy was Le Tissier said, and I guess he was revealing more than maybe he thought, that he felt that, so he idolised Hoddle as a kid, and he was a Spurs fan. And they were similar in their style. And he said that he felt that Hoddle always resented the comparison between the two of them, because Hoddle, as we've read before, is kind of odd and has this huge ego. But it obviously rankled with him to be compared with lazy, indifferent Matt Le Tissier. I thought he revealed more there than maybe he thought,
People that arrogant are never wrong. 2 pages later, I've made it up with him. Maybe you just call him super arrogant. And there's another bit. It's like, I was sitting in the New Forest in a very nice restaurant. He points out it's a nice restaurant. And I could hear a voice behind me. I thought I recognised the voice. I turned around. It was Glenn Hoddle having an argument. Well, I told the waiter to send him over a couple of drinks. I think Glenn was embarrassed because he heard me having an argument. Great story, Alan Partridge. I mean, Matt Le Tissier. Needless to say, I had the last laugh. Honestly, this is just a page saying, Glenn Hoddle had an argument with his girlfriend and I heard it. Glenn Hoddle's a bit of an arsehole, isn't he? I mean, that's what that story's about. It's not a good story, is it? I sent him a drink.
The Ali Daya stuff, that is like really, that's kind of football folklore now, isn't it? But he doesn't shed any light on that, only to say that he was embarrassed to be taken off him and replaced by Ali Daya, like the worst player ever to play in the Premier League, George Weah's quote-unquote cousin. But why would he be embarrassed by that? He came off injured and this guy comes on and somehow, I don't understand how that would be.
Graham Souness should be embarrassed. I mean, like, genuinely really, really embarrassed. But no one else should be, right? I mean, yeah, you come off, your substitute comes on. I mean, that's transferring his spirit to the new substitute, Matt Le Tissier. No, he's not. He just... Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Man, the internet, before the internet, people were just scraping around, weren't they? Like, I've got a phone call here. Can you verify it? No. It is a fun story, isn't it? It's a fun story, but fucking hell, Souness.
Yeah, it's a tremendous story, really. And I guess the nicest wrinkle about that whole thing, and maybe this is something I didn't know, that everybody was just too afraid of Souness to say anything about it. That is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And that's it, isn't it, really? Those are all the interesting things that happened to Matt Le Tissier. He did score some great goals.
So tell me your
favourite. I have got a favourite. Well, he talks about this several times in the book, and he always says he's annoyed he didn't finish it crisply. But it's the one where he controls it behind his body against Newcastle with the back of his foot, knocks it over his head, and then just like side foots it in. And as he said, it isn't a crisp finish, but the skill leading up to it. Other players can't do that. They just can't.
He just dribbles it in, doesn't he? But that is a beautiful goal.
I think, but I mean, he sort of says it. He scored all these lovely long-range goals because he just couldn't be bothered to run anymore. He's knackered out and I better shoot. I think that's why he scored from 35, 40 yards all the time. He was done running. He's just too knackered to run anymore.
Where do you think Le Tissier would play now? Do you think he'd be playing in the Premier League?
No, not with his physicality. And
like if he made no concession to professionalism and all the rest of it.
No, he wouldn't be able to cut it in the Premier League. Not a hope. He is the epitome of a luxury player, isn't he? I mean, that's what he is. He says he can play a free role or you can build a team around him, but there's no other way he can be incorporated into a team. No, I don't think he'd get anywhere near the Premier League nowadays.
Would he be in the
Championship? Do you think he would?
Would he be in the Championship?
I think he could cut it in the Championship, but yeah, I don't think he's a Premier League player now.
Well, it'd be hard to see him getting away with playing the Premiership now. There's especially with the high intensity, full press kind of stuff. And before you read this book, did you think he merited more England caps?
Before I read the book, yes, I do. And now I've read the book, I fully 100% understand why he wasn't picked by an England manager. I wouldn't have picked him, for sure. I've got that written down here. I would not have picked him. His shitty attitude.
He played 8 times for England between 1994 and 1997. No goals, mostly substitute appearances, right?
Yeah, there's a bit where he says he worried that Terry Venables put him in that ill-fated game against Ireland to sort of shut up the media because he'd hate that game because it would be super physical and he'd get bullied. And then and he never got the chance to play him and he never got in another Terry Venables squad. But again, there were a lot of good attacking players in England at that time. There genuinely were. Who are you going to drop? You're going to drop Gaza for him? Not a chance. Teddy Sheringham? Not a chance. Beckham? No. Scholes? No.
What was the score in that Ireland game when they started ripping up the stadium, do you know?
It was 1-0 to Ireland, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Extra merit if you tell me he scored the goal.
Ray Houghton jumped into my mind, but I think I'm thinking of Giant Stadium.
More obscure. It was David Kelly.
David Kelly. I remember him. I did.
There's not much else really, is there? Like he scored the last goal at the Dell, and then he played, I think, 3 times at St. Mary's the following
I don't care for the man, but I don't begrudge him that goal. Good for him. It was good that he scored the last goal at the Dell.
It was a nice goal as well. I watched it.
It was a good goal. And yeah, super result. But, that's nice. Good for him. But beyond that, I do not wish him well. So yeah, his career really did peter out, didn't it? He just got more and more injured. The goals dried up. And if he's not scoring, then he's absolutely useless.
So tell me about his descent kind of into, into the kind of conspiracy stuff. It was that all started with COVID, right?
So he was having a lovely, lovely, lovely time doing his soccer Saturday. As he said, it's great. He didn't have to wear a tie. He'd sit there just filling his mouth, filling his face full of food all the time. He said he ate 4 chocolate bars once during a recording. And he says, Jeff Stelling would always come to him every time he'd stuff something in his gob to embarrass him. Don't stuff fucking food in your gob when you're on TV, you fat fuck. Anyway, but apparently they asked him to wear a Black Lives Matter pin, and he wore it. But then he realised what he was doing. I don't know what he thought he was doing. He took it off. And then his contract wasn't renewed. Oh, bloody woke. Bloody woke.
Okay.
And then, so there was tweets. There was the obligatory COVID restrictions like the Holocaust. Yeah, he said Christian Eriksen died on the pitch because of a vaccine. He was unvaccinated. You fucking idiot. There was recently the Bucha massacre in Ukraine. Denied. No, that didn't happen because he's on with Putin, And then he's also been reprimanded by the Advertising Standards Agency for unlawful claims about CBD tablets alongside John Hartson. It's pretty grim at the end, isn't it? I've got a phone call from you. Who's that? Oh, it's just a piece of shit. He wants to sell CBD tablets. Okay, I'll endorse CBD. That's when you've failed, isn't it? When you're endorsing CBD tablets, weed zero.
And why did he get in trouble for endorsing CBD?
Because he made unrealistic claims about it, all your pain will go away, all your mental health, you'll sleep like a log. I mean, everyone said that about CBD. I saw Katie Price was advertising CBD the other day. Of course she was. Because it's something that costs nothing, but you can charge 40 quid for, and idiots will pay it. Okie dokie.
How many Egg McMuffins would you give this out of 5?
Yeah, I mean, it was an easy read, and it didn't take long. So that's got going. You know what I mean? It's one of those what did you like about the film? It was short. It was quite short. It was like reading a tabloid newspaper. You didn't have to look up any words or anything. 1.5 Egg McMuffins. It's fucking shit. He's a dickhead. You don't need to read it. Just watch his goals. Watch his goals on YouTube. That's all you need to do. Oh, by the way, do you see in his endorsements at the end from his friends? 3 people no wonder his DVD, available now for $19.99 at all good retailers, was called Unbelievable. Because he was unbelievable. I think there's 3 recommendations of his DVD among friends. He must have been on the phone hey, Francis, will you just mention my DVD? It's called Unbelievable. If you can do something with that if you like. But yeah, just mention my DVD. 3 of his ex-pro friends mention his DVD, Unbelievable.
I'll give it 2 Egg McMuffins. It was a terrible book, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
A terrible book about a terrible man, but a good footballer.
But we've read worse ones. We have read worse ones.
In all fairness, when you read certainly a footballer from the 90s autobiography, this was what you should be expecting, right? It's like Bernard Manning style jokes and shitty wank bollocks just moaning about how you don't make as much money as footballers nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then we're back in 2 weeks' time with Gladiator.
Yeah, Totti. Now there's a man.
Yeah.
Don't disappoint me.
Because I'm going to Rome for the Rome Lazio derby. That's exciting, isn't it?
It is exciting. Yeah, I'm super jealous.
Next week it's injury time. It's a draft of players who haven't won the Premier League. So please do tune in, folks.
Thank you very much, everybody. Yep, don't read this book. Do not. We've done it for you.
And don't buy the Matt Le Tissier branded CBD.
Those claims are false.
False
made by
claims.
John Hartson and Matthew Le Tissier. These people are not doctors.
All right, thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Johnny. See you next time.
Let your body spin like there is nothing in life but dancing.